While Psyshock, Psystrike, and Secret Sword deal physical damage, they are still considered special moves, so they have their damage reduced by Light Screen, not Reflect, and activate Mirror Coat, not Counter. However, both Fur Coat and Ice skills reduce the damage from these moves because Fur Coat works by doubling defense and Ice skills works by having the damage dealt by special moves, a slight distinction that does matter here. Type immune abilities will grant an immunity to status moves of that type, but only if that ability also grants a damage boost, HP restoration, or stat increase. For example, a Pokémon with Earth Eater is immune to Sand Attack since Earth Eater restores HP, but a Pokémon with Levitate is not immune to Sand Attack since Levitate doesn't grant a boost of any kind. Type immune abilities with additional effects will only activate once on multi-hit moves. Using Surging Strikes on a Water Absorb Mon will only heal it once. Using Bullet Seed on a Sap Sipper Mon will only raise attack by one stage. Flying Press is not a flying type move. It is a fighting type move with the unique property of dealing fighting and flying type damage simultaneously. Hawlucha does not receive double stab on it. A mono flying type would not receive any stab on it. It has its damage reduced by the Chople Berry, not the Koba Berry. Sandstorm as a field condition lasts 5 turns, but on the 5th turn, it ends before the chip damage goes off, so it will only chip 4 times. However, on the 5th turn of grassy terrain, it ends after the healing, so Pokemon will be healed 5 times. Hitting into a Protect does not count as a move failing to double the power of Stomping Tantrum or Temper Flare. Neither does missing one opponent on a spread move. You would have to miss both opponents for the power to be doubled. Psychic Terrain will not block priority moves that target an ally regardless of being grounded or not. Same goes for Dark types not blocking Prankster boosted moves if it comes from an ally. Multiple eject buttons and multiple eject packs cannot activate from one move. Only the holder with the highest speed will have their item activate. This is something that Showdown does incorrectly because they will both activate but will not on cartridge. A red card and one of these ejecting items can both activate from one move, and this is how it works on cart. Immunity does not have any effect outside of battle in Gens 3 and 4. Bulbapedia incorrectly said that a Pokemon with immunity wouldn't take poison damage outside of battle, which was corrected in July of 2025. Pressure does not double the use of a move's PP, it makes you use one more than normal if that move targets a Pokemon with pressure. If 2 opposing Pokemon have pressure in a double battle, you will use 1 PP on most self-targeting moves, 2 PP on a single target move that targets one of the pressure mons, and 3 PP on a spread move. All effects that prevent stat drops do not prevent stat changes from being reset, as that is considered different. So a Clear Body Pokemon with +2 attack will have its stats drop to neutral when Haze is used. Huge Power, Pure Power, and Fur Coat do not affect base stats, but rather effective stats, which is the number you see on the stat summary screen. If you and your opponent both only have one Pokemon left, and you knock out their Pokemon with a recoil move that also knocks you out, you win. It goes in order of whose HP was reduced to 0 last as the winner. This will count as whiting out in a trainer or wild battle though. A Pokemon does not have to be grounded for the terrain seeds to activate. Flying types and levitators can use the terrain seeds just fine. While speed changes happen immediately starting in Gen 8, this does not apply to last in or first in priority bracket effects. This includes the items Lagging Tail, Quick Claw, and Custat Berry, and the abilities Stall, Mycelium Mite, and Quick Draw. All of these effects are determined at the start of the turn and cannot be changed by anything that happens throughout the turn. Priority effects can change in the middle of a turn. If a Weezing is neutralizing Prankster in a double battle, switching it out will cause Prankster to activate on that turn, and switching it in will cause Prankster to not activate on that turn. Using a rampaging move such as Outrage or Raging Fury only uses up PP the first time the move is selected. Being on a rampage also does not count as using the same move twice in a row for Torment because you don't have the choice of selecting that move once you're on that rampage. Trick Room does not actually reverse the speed order. It sets every Pokemon's speed to 10,000 minus their speed and then subtracts 8,192 if that number is greater than or equal to 8,192 since that is the overflow point. This is why a very fast Pokemon can bypass the speed reversing effect, since if you have a speed of 1,809, it won't overflow. Stalwart and Propeller Tail do not have the effect of Mold Breaker. The descriptions are not saying that they ignore abilities and ignore moves that draw in moves. They're saying that they ignore abilities that draw in moves and moves that draw in moves. And yes, I have seen people make this mistake. Belly Drum takes away 50% max HP rounded down, so you need to have even HP for it to activate the Citrus Berry from full health. However, Shed Tail rounds up, so even or odd HP will cause the Citrus Berry to activate when used from full health. The normal type move changing abilities, aka the 8 and Eyes abilities, do not grant power boost to moves that are already the type that the ability changes to. So a Sylveon will not receive any power boost on Moonblast from Pixelate. However, Normalize does, so a Delcatty using Double Edge will receive a power boost from Normalize. A terastallized Pokemon cannot have its type removed or changed by any means. So Roost, Soak, Protean, and Double Shock will not have any type changing or removing effect. If a held item has an effect dependent upon getting hit and the holder is hit with Knockoff, that effect will activate and then the item will be removed, assuming the condition for the item to activate was met. So knocking off a Rocky Helmet will deal Rocky Helmet damage and then will be removed. If an item is consumed by the target immediately before it gets hit with Knockoff, Knockoff will still be 1.5 times item boosted. An example is when a Ghost-type Mon is hit with Knockoff while holding the Colbur Berry. The damage will be halved, but Knockoff will still be at 1.5 times power. Dry Skin increases the damage from Fire-type moves by 1.25 times, not 2 times. It's probably just mixed up, since Fluffy does increase the damage taken from Fire-type moves by 2 times. Parental Bond does not affect moves that already hit multiple times. It also does not affect spread moves like Earthquake, although it does in singles or if there's only one target in doubles, like if all other Pokemon are knocked out. Aurora Veil only needs Snow to be up when the move is set, so if Snow runs out or is overridden while Aurora Veil is up, it will stay up for as many turns as it has left. Bypassing Substitute is actually an inherent property of sound-based moves. In the last video I said that it wasn't, but this was apparently changed in Champions as Howl, the lone exception before, now bypasses Substitute. Dragon Cheer was also changed in Champions to be a sound-based move. Punching Glove outright prevents punching moves from making contact, so if an ability requires contact to be made for it to activate, that requirement will not be met. Protective Pads just protects the holder from any adverse effects of contact, so contact will still be made, and the requirement for those contact-dependent abilities will be met. Emergency Exit, Berserk, and Anger Shell will not activate if the user's HP gets to half or below from a substitute or other self-inflicting status move. It must be from opponent-inflicted or ally-inflicted direct damage, although Emergency Exit can activate from recoil damage. None of them will activate multiple times from one move, like when hit by a multi-strike move when holding a Citrus Berry. It will only activate after all hits. And those are 30 more Pokemon mechanic misconceptions. Thanks to everyone who dropped suggestions in the first video, and feel free to comment any other mechanics you might know, or if I made any mistakes. Thanks for watching.